Beautiful loves. So today I thought we would chat about retrograde season, which is what I'm calling September. September is retrograde month. Even though we've had quite a few of the in retrograde already, this month we have 6 planets in retrograde. And so it's quite interesting, especially because we're in equinox towards the middle of September. We have the equinox, which is the shifting of seasons. And so there is almost like, if you're in the northern hemisphere, there's like, oh, we're still in summer, we're still in this busy period before we start settling into the rhythm of autumn and winter. And in the southern hemisphere, it's like, oh, is winter going to be finished soon? We can enter into spring and the need of doing stuff. And so for me, there is sort of that push, like we're so externally, societally driven by the fact that from pretty much September to December is like the busy period and everything needs to be done. What do we haven't completed for the year? And there is such this big drive for the yang energy. And unfortunately, or fortunately, September, the planet energy doesn't encourage that. It's not to say you can't be creating and doing that. That is definitely not what I'm saying. But the energy's feeling an invitation is to come inwards. If we look at what a retrograde means, it means that it appears as if the planet's going backwards because it's moving slowly. And that's just our perception from Earth. It's not actually going backwards, but when we look at it, that is what it means. It sort of appears that it's going backwards and then it goes forwards. And so retrograde for me is almost the invitation to pause and review. Very much has that theme of the review period of where this planet has been going through. And even if you don't know the specifics of what it's been going through, and that there'll be certain themes in your life that are coming up again, certain things that perhaps have happened in the last few months and you've dealt with, and now it's coming up again. And this is for you to review. Was that action that you took, was it aligned, or was it like, sometimes you do something because it's just like, let's get it done. I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to put it in that little box there, which is great. We all have that. But the review period comes in and it's like, let's relook at that. Was how you handled it in alignment with your soul? If it is, then that's amazing. How can you refine that? But perhaps there were parts of it that you're not really great with, or there are ways of doing it. So it doesn't always mean that there's certain like negativity to it. It's just like, if you re-looked at it, how could you process it differently? Another way of looking at a retrograde season is almost as if like you always saw it from this forward perspective, and then the retrograde is almost like you quickly turn around and you can see it from that perspective. So it's giving you the opportunity to go inwards and look at it from a different perspective. Allow yourself to see things differently. Allow things to bubble up from the subconscious. And that really is, it's this invitation of going into a yin phase for these few weeks and allowing that to come through. And why I say you can't, why you don't, like, not, tongue-tied, while you don't have to stop creating, is because a yin energy and the feminine energy is where things are being birthed. So while you might not necessarily be putting stuff into action, the yang of it, there is really a beautiful gift in allowing things to bubble up. It's almost like I see when we think of the retrograde is like we see the seed and there's like just the little roots. Like when the yang energy comes and then the doing and everything is when it bursts through the soil and that. But so much happens under the ground. So much of that germination, the growth of it, that's like rooting, and before the actual like plant can come up through the soil, it needs to be steady and held in that beautiful container of the soil. And so this is what the retrogrades for me are, is it's like if you're putting in the roots and germinating and stuff, is this where you want them to be? Is this the foundation you want? As simple as that. Like, that's what the review is asking. Is this what you want to have? That's not to mean you can't come back and change it and stuff. Of course, we like always have free will and constant changing, but this really is, all the energies are allowing this beautiful transmission into your soul, into self. And so if we just take a quick look at what planets are doing and what they are, we have the Mercury retrograde, which everyone really speaks of. And I think there's sort of a misconception of Mercury retrograde. It's not something to be afraid of. It's just, once again, it's this beautiful period. We get to just review instead of like the constant outward motion of minds. And so that's from the 10th of September, so this weekend, moves in there at the same time as we're having that beautiful full moon. It's there till the 1st of October, but the shadow period is till about the 16th of October. So you pretty much have about a month and a bit. Shadow period just means it's where it's coming back over those same degrees. And so it's not moving as the normal speed it is, so it's slowly building up. It doesn't just suddenly go from like 0 to 100, builds up to that. And that's going through Virgo and Libra. Really, the invitation there is to look at the relationships. Libra is very much about relationships, fairness, harmony. How are you creating that balance? How are you creating that within your life and also within your relationships? Are there certain conversations that perhaps you haven't really wanted to have? You can have that during retrograde. Doesn't mean you have to go and speak to everyone and like hash up everything, but there could be certain things that maybe have an opportunity to be resolved, looked at from a different perspective, knowing that also when we come back into the shadow, still that energies have that. Also goes back into Virgo. We have the Sun in Virgo, we have Venus in Virgo. We're really looking at how we live our body. How are we prioritizing our house? How are we looking at our finances in terms of the details of it? Where are we avoiding the detail? You know, I have done, you can check back on the Virgo season video, but it really is this period of looking at how are you supporting this body? Once again, if we use the analogy of the soil, what are you nurturing that soil with? What are you putting into that soil? What are you putting into this body that's going to allow you to take all those action steps with that? So you have that. We have Jupiter, which has been in retrograde for a while, and that goes until the 22nd of November. Saturn is the 23rd of October when it comes out of it. And they're pretty much as close as we can to the personal planets. So they impact us a bit more. Like Mercury definitely impacts us, the personal planets. Jupiter and Saturn are almost sort of that middle outer layer. And Jupiter's sort of the expansion. So while it's in this movement, it's like looking and it's through Pisces of like, what are the dreams? How would we want to achieve them? So really reviewing these dreams once again. And Saturn linked in Aquarius at this point in time, it's very much about how are we using technology to better humanity? How do you use technology to improve not only within your world, but the community? Are you using technology for good? And that's completely up to your interpretation, but how do we utilize this for the greater good of the collective? And Saturn's asking these sort of questions, because Saturn Aquarius is also very like unemotional in that point of view. So it's a very thinking mind, but also perhaps there's really great ideas you have, you know, being Aquarius is very much the visionary, forward thinking, that sort of thing. So how can you best use technology is a question. And then you have Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So Uranus is for a while. That's until 22nd January next year. Neptune's till 3rd of December. And Pluto's till 8th of October. And they're like that outer ring of the collective conscious. Doesn't mean we aren't impacted. We are. We feel the energy of all of us. But it's what are we doing on the collective scale? And so this review period of those is Uranus is looking at like our financial system. How are they supporting us or not supporting us? What needs to be changed? What innovation can be brought into that? Taurus is also about the earth and food, what our food systems look like. How are we nourishing Mother Gaia or not? Those sort of things playing out. Neptune is definitely about the visions, the dreams. We all have this beautiful dream of this collective consciousness coming. What is our role that we're playing into that? And these are all things you can just allow to percolate if they resonate with you or not. It's just sort of these themes, and we can see, and obviously you have the shadow parts of it also playing out. High octave is the beautiful consciousness. The low octave is the escapism, the addiction. the not wanting to face reality. This is what the Neptune is. And then Pluto is very much about transformation. It's the rebirth. It's the phoenix that comes out of things. Often things really crumble. They have to crumble before they can. And in its Capricorn movement, where it is at the moment, really at the last edges of Capricorn, it's all about what are the old structures? Are those structures serving us? Often linked to, we could look at the governments, those sort of patriarchal. I say that because it's just it's not against the masculine, but there is that patriarchal energy with it. How are they serving or not serving? And this is why we're seeing a lot of like turmoil a bit in the governments, because it needs to shake up. The system doesn't serve where we are. And so those sort of questions of how are we choosing our leaders? The people we are empowering, are we empowering them for the better good of us as a collective or not? So and then when you bring it down into self, it's sort of like, what are the old structures you could let go of? What are the old beliefs you could let go of that don't serve you anymore, that aren't aligned with your truth and your authenticity? What have you been told that this is how it has to be? When you could actually sit and go, why does it have to be that way? Why do I choose to believe this? Is it because it's something society says, something that I inherited through my family, through the culture? Review period is a great time to sort of question why, remembering changing that perspective of why do I view things this way? And then not to forget that Mars, our beautiful planet in Gemini, he starts his retrograde on the 30th of October. So there'll still be a bit of it, but we won't be in the thick of the retrograde period, which we will be for the next few weeks. So while it might feel a bit frustrating because you want to go, really I almost see it as like this beautiful time to just almost lean into that energy of yin and create and like be like, okay, what sort of questions do I need to ask? What sort of messages can my subconscious bring in? How can I make more time to hear those messages of my soul? How can I make more time to look after my soil and really think about what the seeds are that I'm planting and rooting down? And is it what I want? And what are they being rooted in? So that's all happening with us, my loves. And so I just wanted to touch in and really let you know, and also have that invitation of coming back to self. We ultimately, I believe, have all the answers within us. And it's all about this journey we have, this wonderful human experience of coming back to self. It's not sort of a destination that you just reach. It is the journey of it. And the more you can be in this journey and ebb and flow with the energies, the more beautiful and magical it will be. Not to say there won't be challenges, but the challenges are opportunities for growth and expansion. So yeah, so that is my invitation, my loves, and I am sending you so much love, so much joy, so much compassion, and just understanding for self and also for others, because we're all collectively feeling this. Bye, my loves.